we have?
Lillian,
Vanilla's doggo?
she's
We have
hungry.
Vanilla's doggo?
Man, everybody wants Benella's doggo, but we're trying to get Sergeant Tapao to hook us up.
If I find some, I'll send some over to you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, but we do have virtual Sandies. Are you a Sandies fan, Lillian?
Those are good.
Okay.
Alrighty.
So, yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Basta. Adios. We'll keep it in the KUAM News Zoom room. Move along to Sergeant Paul Tapao, who I had no idea. Sarge, I know he's known for his stuffing in the family, but he just sent me a picture of his Benella's doggo, and I think we have a. I'm gonna put it in the chat, Jay.
Sure.
I want to see this. Is it a special kind?
Oh, he's even using organic agave in the raw as the syrup there, Sarge.
Yeah, low glycemic. That's why. So we got to take care of him and uncle. So
amen.
My mom is she's a doggo fan, but growing up in where I grew up in Agania Springs, doggo wasn't our go-to. It was actually gatdo. And if you ever tried Alain gatdo, that's a lot. That's more work than the doggo. So a lot of the sinus and the amkus, they know what gatdo is, and that is a delicacy right there. If you ever happen to try gatdo, you're gonna convert over to that side of the shop.
But this picture you sent us, it's the doggo, right?
Yes, that's doggo. My wife was fortunate to be the recipient of a nice size of a batter, and we did some test run just to get ready for the holidays, and kids enjoyed it. And she freaked out because she didn't know I was a good ball squeezer.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you were one either.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the one thing you can, when you talk about making doggo, you got to talk about squeezing balls, and you squeeze them.
Absolutely.
Where do you
No
squeeze?
spoon.
Where do you? No spoon. No, it's all by hand, right? So it's a hand squeezing of balls.
Yeah. So you grease up your hand, put some olive oil. Amkus would tell you that is to prevent itching, but it really helps in releasing the. That's the old way.
Can we get the camera off of Sabrina for a minute, so Sergeant Paul Tapao and I could talk about squeezing balls without giggling in the background? Yeah, and so the olive oil, when you put it there, and Sarge, so can you give us a demonstration? Because I actually did a training with Auntie Natty, but.
So really, the level of the pan and how well you're brave enough, because when you do doggo, right, the fear is it blowing up in your face because of the water. So you really gotta let it sit, let it settle, let the yeast and the flour, whatever you put in there, but more importantly, let it rehydrate itself from the water. And then when you're ready, you grease your hands up, and it allows a better function and better. It's better than the spoon because it doesn't get stuck. But it all comes with the tip and the squeeze and the turn.
That's it.
For the pinch.
Yep, you put the tip, and then you do a little squeeze, and then you turn and you pinch.
And you pinch.
Right. And so I don't know if we can get that picture up. It's up there. So yeah, Sergeant Paul Tapao, get ready. The orders are going to come in. Because
I don't essence the doggo anymore. That's a lot of work. So hollowing it and essencing it is that's backbreaker. So the big ups to those who are selling the batter.
Right on.
I would gladly pay $40 a batter if that's the going range. Than looking at a raw doggo sitting there in the table, and it's like, oh boy, here we go.
We have your doggo up on the Facebook Live screen here. That's really nice, Sarge. You know what? Because I fried some a couple weekends ago because we got the batter too, but I used the little tiny ice cream scooper.
Yeah, it gets stuck. It's better the hand technique.
Right.
No. Your hand, it's easier to come out and.
Yeah, I felt like I was being. Too American when when I used it. I was like, I can try the ice cream scooper, guys.
You don't want to touch it?
No, I just, I'm not always in a rush to squeeze balls in my hand. And I wanted to try it. I just wanted to see how uniform it was, right? Because you're right, when you get it down and you're doing the squeeze and you have it down, they're all pretty much the same size because you want that consistency, right? So I just wanted to try it out with the little ice cream scooper.
So we're all set for Christmas. So we got the doggo in the fridge and we're ready. So
where'd you get your batter?
The wife was fortunate enough to get it. So that was she was able to get some, and You know, I mean, back in the day, it's like we would never have purchased
Of course.
the batter. We would have to actually, because we have dog food behind my house.
Right.
You know, I personally just let the pigs run wild on that. But
Right.
when the AMCOs ask for it and we have to hully and assist it, that's the one that I'll cook it if you clean it.
Right. Sarge, let's get into official business now.
Absolutely.
Have we had anybody get fined or issued tickets for breaking the COVID rules?
No, you know, we've been tracking, the Guam Police Department has been tracking since Thanksgiving. So, you know, it's really testament of the community in itself for understanding the importance. As you can see, you had Lillian and you had public health in the show, and of course, Dr. Cabrera talking about the numbers going down. And that's just really a reflection of the entire community. And, you know, I guess with the timing of when they granted us the authority to issue the citation, I think the community understood once we hit the triple digits of a positive rate and our hospitalization that we're almost touching 100 people on a daily basis. You know, they understood the magnitude of what we needed to do as a community. So, you know, being equipped with the authority to issue a citation, you know, that was one of the things in which, you know, the Guam Police Department would, you know, utilize in the event where we would have to do intervention or social gathering and stuff. But, you know, mind you, prior to the onset of COVID, I want to reiterate that, you know, the community interaction with GPD was, you know, well over 3,500 to almost 4,000 community interactions since the onset of COVID. And now that we've had the authority to issue citations to not just homes, but also businesses alongside Department of Public Health and Social Service, we've been tracking. So as of, you know, Thanksgiving, there were no citations that's issued. And again, you know, that really is indicative of what's happening now with the community and understanding and seeing the numbers that are actually going down. So, you know, it's a tool that we can use to educate, and it's a tool that we can also use to enforce, so that there's also education through enforcement. But again, you know, it's really, you know, we're seeing the numbers go down, and it's looking really good. But, you know, again, we can't keep our, you know, let our guard down. We always got to be on alert and always be, you know, understanding that things can change. But, you know, just the practices that we've been doing to bring these numbers down, it's phenomenal to see it.
What about, do you have any new information or any information on the incident that occurred in Tamuning yesterday afternoon? Is
Okay,
it still
so,
classified as an aggravated assault
Yes,
case?
and that's an ongoing case. And, you know, again, that happened shortly after 2:00 yesterday afternoon. That occurred along East Tunsugundu Leon Guerrero Street. And it was it's still classed as an ag assault. This case has been assumed by our Criminal Investigation Division. A 54-year-old male was transported to Guam Memorial Hospital for care relative to the injury sustained. Now, again, this is pretty much where we asked the community the time, the location. You know, I was there a bit right after you guys left, and I was seeing a lot of the, you know, some foot traffic, people coming out, and we were asking the community within that area if anybody had witnessed, or if anybody is, you know, willing to provide information that can aid our investigators. You know, we were humbly asking for their assistance, but again, this case is classed as an aggravated assault and has been assumed by our criminal investigators. So if anybody would like to provide information and remain anonymous, utilize the Guam Crime Stoppers at guam.crimestoppersweb.com.
What is this condition?
I don't know. Unfortunately, when we got there, they were still treating him. He was, you know, the officers that were at the hospital at the time had indicated that he was going through a CAT scan at that time. So we do know that he is going to be admitted, or he has been admitted at GMH.
Yeah, I was actually on the scene there yesterday, Sergeant, where I was able to see them taking photos of a vehicle there at the scene. But what would you say to just residents in Tamuning? I mean, broad daylight, guy getting, I mean, it kind of seems like hit over the head. How safe?
You know, it's fairly safe. It really is. these are one of the things in which we're trying to understand as to what transpired relative to this case. So, you know, we're working closely with a lot of the business establishments that are along the area that, you know, we can obtain some surveillance footage that can aid the case. So this, you know, this is really, you know, it was a nice day. You know, people, like I said, people were walking, people were exercising. So, you know, it's fairly safe in that type, in that strip of neighborhood. But again, this incident did happen, and we are asking, should anyone may have witnessed, to please help us, you know, give us the information that can bring closure to this case.
So was there any sort of signs a blunt force trauma? Or?
We don't know yet. We're still working. I'm going to be brief because, as you know, too, there was another incident that happened in Afumi Road in Sinahanya. So, you know, our detectives were pretty much spread throughout. So I will be getting another back brief from CID as to, you know, what had transpired at the Tumuni site, and of course, what happened at the Afumi Sinahanya site.
Can you give us more information then on the Afumi Sinahanya site involving is it 77-year-old woman?
77-year-old female. She was actually, it's classed as an injured person. As we reported it, medics treated and transported to Naval Hospital Guam relative to the injuries that she sustained. Now, again, immediately our officers had activated GPD CID, in which this case has also been assumed by our detectives. So working alongside with what happened in Tumuni and of course what happened in Afumi. So, you know, our detectives, and I should be providing more information as a result of the Afumi incident. So yeah, that's actually being reviewed. So we should have something more to report on in that incident.
Mm-hmm. You say injured person. Is there any reason to believe she was assaulted?
It's a classification based on the severity of the injuries. You know, we take it, you know, at its full totality and utilize that moving forward. It's just a classification that's used in the initial assessment of the call. And again, you know, things change, things can change. Should an arrest be laid, we can actually lay the charges, you know, moving forward, but it's just a classification at the time of the incident. Again, there's many factors that needs to be put into play in reclassifying and of course moving forward. So, you know, when we do like incidents of homicides before they get classified as a homicide, we classify it as a death investigation. You know, death can do either one, natural death, self-inflicted death, or you know, that of homicide or murder. And again, these are issues in which incidents in which are ruled by the chief medical examiner should any reclassification. But in its initial phases, it's really just a classification that is used to open up the investigation.
So what were the factors in determining this was an injured person?
It's pretty much based on the injuries, and everything. But again, as things develop, as more information gets provided, you know, these supplemental information gets added into the investigation. And, you know, although it may be classed as this, it can also change into another degree or another reclassification should it need be.
When you say that, then are you saying that it could be self-inflicted injuries?
And that's the whole purpose. And then, you know, as the cases or the investigation moves forward, it pretty much acts as an umbrella. So when we do classification, it acts as an umbrella moving forward with the investigation. So like I gave the example of a death investigation, if you yet to determine whether it was self-inflicted, whether the investigators have yet to determine whether it was natural causes or that was, you know, premeditated murder or homicide. In that sort of manner, you know, the classification in itself is pretty much an umbrella for the investigation. But once the investigatory part of the aspect of the case gets added in, it paints a bigger picture or a better picture moving forward. Should an arrest be laid, or should an autopsy findings be determined by the chief medical examiner, or any other evidentiary factor that can that is contributed to the case, will you know, we'll move forward with the case. But it's pretty much just a classification in its own right for the course of the investigation.
Okay, so there was enough factors to
Yeah.
determine that the
Yeah, and
individual
like I said, I have more
in the
information that
Tamooning
I'll be
incident was
providing.
assaulted.
I'm sorry.
So there was enough factors to determine that the
Yes,
individual in
yes.
Tamooning
Moving with the
was
two moving,
assaulted.
there was findings and everything, and we when we got the when we moved forward with classifying that incident, there was there was factors that determined that was an aggravated assault.
I'd like-
And this is
Anything
where
on the
we're at.
fatality in Santa Rita?
We are waiting for the autopsy. Again, reaching out to I've yet to reach out to our investigators from the Highway Patrol Division, and it's unfortunate that this happened on our roadways, and we work, but again, we're going to wait for the autopsy, and we should be releasing some information about the causation and of course the crashing itself, and be able to identify the victim that was involved in the crash.
Any word on the skulls that were found?
They were what do you call that? Transported to the chief medical examiners for examination. The skeletal remains that were found in Adelup, again, and of course the one that was found in Mahina, two separate and apart incidents, not related. Again, we use the direction of the chief medical examiner to reach out to agencies such as Department of Parks and Recs, where the historical, scientists that are there, or the University of Guam, that can give us a real carbon dating so that we can determine whether the skulls are in fact ancestral remains, World War II remains, or remains that we may need to investigate. So, these are things in which, if you look at the area and where there are, erosion may have played a factor in this. Again, these are things in which we have to consider. The remains that were found in, we've reported many times, several times, about remains that were found within the vicinity of the Mahina and Nimitz area. And a lot of that came back as related to relations to the war. And of course, some were also related to ancestral remains. So,
I see.
these are the factors that are in play when we find skeletal remains on the island.
Sorry, last question, Sarge, about checkpoints. Are we going to be seeing any checkpoints?
We should be putting out information to that. This is the time. We work closely with the Department of Public Works and the Office of Highway Safety, and it's the campaign "Click It or Ticket" or "Drive Sober, Get Pulled Over." It's different times. Unprecedented times, and the wife and I just had a conversation about, wow, we don't see any Christmas parties or office parties, and this is where my senses ramp up during the time of the year because of the the DUI issues and everything. But understanding where we are in the pandemic, we adjust accordingly with our officers from the Highway Patrol Division, and we will be putting information in regards to any holiday checkpoints or DWI checkpoints.
Thank you, Sarge.
But again,
Anything new with Michael Castro?
Just drive sober, man. Just drive sober, and designated responsible sober driver.
Any word on the search for Michael Castro?
It's still ongoing. We're still, again, this is still a missing persons investigation. So we continue to ask for the community any information that can aid us. Call our dispatchers at 472-8911 or submit a tip at guam.crimestoppersweb.com. Again, this is an ongoing case. I spoke with our detectives up at CID and of course respective command. These cases are priority, as well as all the other death investigations, such as the Wanagan and that incident in Tamooning. So these are active cases. We have detectives that are actively working these cases, and they continue to work these cases, and eventually we'll get information that's going to aid them, and we'll bring, hoping and praying that we'll bring closure so that the families can have some sort of understanding as to what happened. But priority number one is giving us the information that can help us, and I think the community has, there's abundance of information that's out there that the Guam Police Department may have overlooked or has not received. And we ask the community, really let's work together in this and provide any information that can aid us in any of our cases.
Thank you, Sarge.
Absolutely. You guys stay safe, and thank you for everything that you guys do.
Hey, I messaged you about where we can buy the batter, so if you know, just message me.
I'll give you a link. I know a person that has one. And he's
I know a
really,
guy who's slanging bags. Thank you, Sarge.
I do, but,
Yes,
you know, on
sir.
behalf of the Guam Police Department, you know, our guys from Highway Patrol, you know, please designated responsible sober driver. We're in that time of the year, you know, really difficult time or different time that we're in. A sober driver is the gift of life. You know, designate somebody, and of course, on behalf of our working men and women of the Guam Police Department, you know, stay safe out there. You know, we do have a virus, and you know, we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Absolutely. God bless.
All right,
Take
let's go ahead and bring on Cesar Medina, who, you know, Cesar, I'm